So there's been a lot of talk this week about news, perhaps, of Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard taking over NXT going forward into this new, colourful era on the former, now soon to be former, black and gold brand. But as usually is the case with this sort of information, it's slowly formed into something else. We've got more news dropping by the day, and it doesn't seem like they're specifically going to have like a hands-on input into what's going down like week to week, so that's a good thing. But make no mistake about it, change is coming. We're going to get a wedding next week. There's been a big number one contenders match set up. We've got a title match, and perhaps this could be the last we ever see of this version of the CWC, which is all we can hope and pray for. Also, I'm hearing a lot of stuff through the grapevine about some guy called Cole showing up on this weird little show in Chicago. Never heard of him. Hope he does well. But now we've got all that out of the way, I am Gareth here from WhatCulture Wrestling. These are the ups and downs for NXT, and my God, is it hot in the UK today, so if you see some sweat, get over it. Look, I already said this in the intro, I understand, but it does feel like this might be the last ever time that we see the CWC in its current format, in all of the plexiglass and gold and eagles and all the weird stuff that it's turned into. If that is the case, that's getting up, because we need a change. We desperately need a change. But before we could get carried away with all that, we did have a match straight away. It's the best way to start an NXT, in my personal opinion. We had Ember Moon taking on Kaylee Ray, and of course this match got an up. Because the little storyline coming in was the fact that Ember Moon is not in the best vein of form currently. She's lost a tag team partner who's doing really well over on Friday nights. They're really good at this. And then Kaylee Ray's just come into this division and said, I want to batter everyone, so I might as well go for one of the biggest fish in this black and gold pond, so I'm going to go straight for Ember Moon. I'm going to kick her ass. And honestly, the styles meshed perfectly, because you had Ember Moon pulling out these high octane, super athletic moves. Seriously, we need to remember just how incredibly, insanely athletic Ember Moon is, because some of the stuff she did in this match, she did like a top rope code breaker thing at one point, and I was like, this woman, she can still go. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you had Kaylee Ray, who was pretty much single-mindedly trying to rip off Ember Moon's arm. There was a point where she like yanked it on a rope. She just started putting her in like cross arm breakers. She is a savage. You also had Kaylee Ray popping out this incredible tornado DDT that just made Ember Moon flip inside and out and all over the place. And then Ember Moon did like her version of Santos Escobar's Phantom Driver thing as well. So she was just pulling out moves that I've never seen her do. But in the end, there could be only one. And after this little transition pinning attempt thing on the floor, Kaylee Ray managed to get Ember Moon up into a gory bomb out of nowhere, got the win, so she's got this big notch on her belt. But we've got to talk about Ember Moon, because right now it doesn't feel like she's got much of a direction. And then later on in the night, she had a backstage interview and she was like, I don't like where I'm at right now. I'm going to go away and have a think about my attitude, probably come back and be a heel. She didn't explicitly say the last bit, but you've got a feeling that's where she's got to go, because this version of Ember Moon, she's not delivering the goods. We had Pete Dunne, Ridge Holland, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch backstage getting prepared, the latter two at least getting prepared for an NXT Tag Team Championship match later on in the main event of the evening. That was going to happen. They were going to reclaim the belts that they never lost, or were they? Oh yeah, then Pete Dunne pretty much just told the lads to go and end MSK. Don't worry about the belts, just go and kill them, because Pete Dunne's that kind of guy. And when it comes to these kind of off-site vignettes, I'm going to do what I always do on NXT Ups and Downs. I'm going to combine them in all together, because I don't like jumping back and forward, in and out, like NXT just make us do week after week after week. So we did have the Bachelorette and Bachelor parties for Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis, respectively. And this is going to come as a bit of a shock, but your boy liked it. It's all getting up. Actually, like's a bit of a strong word. It just did what it needed to do for me, for this whole angle, and got me a little bit invested for a wedding next week in WWE. What a world we're living in. Now, I will admit that the Bachelorette party didn't really have as much spice and flavour as the Bachelor party, because it was just pretty much a group of people brought together kind of against their will just to sit there and clap and smile at Indy Hartwell. And I really loved Cora Jade's foreshadowing line, just brilliantly just dropped in there, that this is a WWE wedding, it's not going to go to plan. So I tip my cap to you, Cora Jade, you actually watched the product. But then at the end of that Bachelorette party, Indy Hartwell was like, oh, Candice, have you still got your spying gear? Let's go spying. They were like, okay, because that's what true love's all about, spying. The Bachelor party was pretty awesome, I've got to say it, because we got in the limo straight away. You had the zombie referee from Dexter Lumis's past. Are they buddies now? Is he just like an ally? Apparently so. Also, you had Cameron Grimes show up, and he was paying for not only the Bachelor party, but apparently the whole wedding, just for banter. Even though him and Dexter Lumis used to have a thing, they were enemies for a long time, but he was like, oh, let's let bygones be bygones, man. I'm going to give you all my money just because love. And that pretty much encompassed all the dudes that were involved in this big bachelor party thing that took them everywhere from go-karting, axe throwing, to laser tag. Like, I was a little bit upset that I didn't get an invite, but you know, we'll let it go, we'll let it slide because I've got a job to do. In the end though, this was all leading to the moment where Johnny Gargano finally felt that he could trust Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis had earned that trust through laser tag and helping him throw an axe and like helping him win the race and the go-karting. That was all leading up to this point. They were like, oh, we're going to be friends together. The way is the family. We trust you now, Lumis. And Lumis just did a weird little look kind of towards the camera that made me think, stuff's going to hit the fan, isn't it, next week? We might get that little Dexter Lumis heel turn, or there could be a massive swerve and we could get Indy Hartwell turning heel on the way. That could happen as well. But just out of nowhere, I suddenly give a damn about all this stuff and I kind of want to see what happens next week. So you got me. You got me, NXT. What am I going to say? I'm going to put my hands up. You got me. Carmelo Hayes taking on Santos Escobar in a one-on-one match. And obviously with the people that are involved in this kind of singles encounter, it's always going to be an up. Little backstory behind this one. It was just the fact that these two had a bit of a stare down really backstage, and Santos Escobar wasn't happy about the fact that Carmelo Hayes has a chance now to cash in a title shot against anyone. He said, don't get him a North American title. He was like, why not? And he was like, right, I'll fight you. Again, I really like the clash of styles because you had Carmelo Hayes just flipping, springboarding. He flipped out of a pinning attempt at one point and went straight into a super kick. I've never seen that in my life, and that was just incredible. And then to go up against this, you had Santos Escobar, who can pretty much do it all. He's a luchador. He can do all the high-flying top rope hurricane runners like we saw in this match. But then equally, he can pummel you into the ground and make you one with the canvas. But to be honest, it did look like for a moment Carmelo Hayes was just potentially going to have too much for the former Cruiserweight champion. He went for his over-the-top rope apron DDT thing onto the apron, but then when he landed on the outside, something a little bit unexpected happened. Because instead of Legado del Fantasma's Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wild getting involved and beating up Carmelo Hayes and throwing him back in the ring, we didn't get that. Instead, we got Elektra Lopez pick him up, power slam him straight onto the floor, then she rolled him in, he got Phantom Driver, and Santos Escobar won the whole thing because that was always bound to happen. But I know the numbers game thing is a bit of a stale trope in WWE because it just seems to happen every single week on every single show at this point. But here, it kind of worked. It kind of subverted what I thought was going to happen. Made Elektra Lopez look like a massive force of nature. And Santos Escobar looked like he really has to depend on the people that are around him right now to win any match. And Carmelo Hayes, it gives him an out because he probably would have won the match if it wasn't for the interference. So all this, it worked a treat for me. Malcolm Bivens given a bit of an introduction to the Creed brothers, a bit of an official introduction this week in the Diamond Mine gym thing. He was like, these guys, Brutus, Julius, they're really big. They've got loads of credentials when it comes to wrestling. If you get in the way, you probably get flattened, as we'll see later on. Oh yeah, and then William Regal made an announcement about the NXT Championship. He said that we are obviously going to need to crown a new number one contender for the belt. So what we're going to do, we're going to get all those people that came down to the ring the other week and started going, oh, I want your belt, Joe. We're going to put those in a big fatal four-way. So we're going to have Kyle O'Reilly taking on LA Knight, taking on Pete Dunne, taking on Tommaso Ciampa. And my only real issue with all of this is where in the hell is Cameron Grimes? I mean, that guy just beat LA Knight like a couple of weeks ago and he's not involved in this match. He's not a contender. Doesn't make any sense. But that aforementioned Creed Brothers match was on the horizon. It was our next thing that we were going to have here. And, well, not only is this going to get my yellow highlighter of the week, I just move out of frame because that's what I do now. It's going to get this, but we're also going to step back into my favorite place in the whole world. It's coming. Taking on the team of Chucky Viola and Paxton Averill, these boys can seriously go because Brutus very nearly killed them both in the first 10 seconds. He threw them over the top rope, then we got Julius involved, and the Spring Onions started losing all their structure like my mind did. Because Julius got slapped in the face to get tagged in straight away, so I thought this is bad news for whoever this team are facing. And then they just proceeded to slam their opponents into each other, and then Julius did like a running tackle, like a running spear tackle into the floor, clotheslined the head off. I can't remember which person was getting beaten up at this point because I was just blinded by the Creed brothers. They won the match, and I'm scared for everything. Obviously, it's going to get a juicy squash. This doesn't produce any juice that I know of, but this is all I had in my fridge. But it's going to get a juicy squash, and I'm terrified for the rest of that NXT Tag Team division because these boys ain't messing around. We had one of those hit row, vibrant studio promo things that they do so well. They cut a bit of a rap and just really go at it down the lens. And pretty much the long and short of it is the fact that they're not happy with Legado and everything that happened with them a couple of weeks ago. They want to beat up Legado, understandably. So I think we're probably going to get a B-Fab versus Elektra Lopez match. Hopefully we finally get Swerve against Santos Escobar part 1200 at this point. I'm not sure how many matches they've had. And then maybe we just throw in another tag match, like a 4-on-4 match later down the line as well. This has still got some legs to go. I like that they're starting to slow bleed it again. We had an NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match up here because we had Io Shirai and Zoe Stark defending their belts, probably for the first time, I believe, since they won them, against the KCs, Kaden Catanzaro. No, it's Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Cat. There's a lot of Ks, a lot of Cs. I got confused, but it's obviously going to get an up. Again, a really simple story here. The fact that the champions just don't get along, even though they're two separate, really talented individuals. And then you got the challengers who are best buddies with all the chemistry. Yay! I really like the opening stretch of this match because everyone just started flipping. They were like, I'm going to flip, you're going to flip, we're going to flip at each other and then stare at each other like superheroes and we'll tag somebody else in, then we'll flip again. And then it started getting a little bit strange because Io Shirai just refused to tag in Zoe Stark. She was like, nope, I got this, I'm going to do it myself. And she put Kaden Carter in a corner, split her legs on the turnbuckle, and then code breakered her. There was a lot of code breakers on this show, to be honest, but this one was very unique and brutal. And it got to a point where Io Shirai's stubbornness and arrogance to say that she could just win the match all in a Todd really started going against her, and then before long Zoe Stark just tagged herself in for a bit of a hot tag and battered everyone. But there was a bit more drama because then accidentally Zoe Stark banged straight into Io Shirai, and then it looked like Kaden Carter hit something resembling his sister Abigail out of nowhere, and I was like, is that some kind of strange nod there to Bray Wyatt? What is happening? Is he going to turn up? Probably not. But despite a weird elevated splash thing where Casey Catanzaro was on top of Kaden Carter's shoulders on the top rope, they did that. Despite that, Zoe Stark was able to hit the flipping knee thing that she does, and then the moon over moonsault landed, so the champions retain their belts against all the odds. But there was more after this, because as Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro had made their way up the rank, they got jumped by Mandy Rose, now sporting a new facial mask, because remember, she got face smashed in, so everyone has to wear a big face mask whenever they have any facial injury in WWE. Gigi Dolan was there as well, JC Jane, they were helping out, they were beating them up, and it just looks like we've got another very simple tale here. Mandy Rose is annoyed and very maniacal at this point. They just want to dominate, they want to be at the top of the pile when it comes to all things women's wrestling in NXT, so to do that they need to win the belts, so they're going to make an example out of the KCs and go straight after Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. Excited for the match, not excited for more mask shenanigans and Mandy Rose just getting hit in the face a lot. Kyle O'Reilly had a little promo thing where he was like sat in a ring, very similar to what Edge did a couple of months ago when he was just being really broody in the ring and staring down at people. He talked about his failed title shots and the fact his friendship had just exploded, but he was like, I'm going to close that chapter of my life now. Shut, it's done, and now I'm going to go after the NXT Championship, but not because I want the belt. The belt doesn't mean anything, it's what the belt represents, and that's being the very best, so Joe, I'm coming for you. Oh yeah, then we had Jessie Kamea and Frankie Monet just slagging off pretty much this whole wedding thing that's going to happen, just laughing at the wedding dress and the invites, and it's terrible. And then Robert Stone came into frame and he was like, you know, you're not going to worry about this wedding because you got a big match next week now. You're going to have to fight for the NXT Women's Championship against Raquel Gonzalez. That's going to happen, Frankie. And Frankie was buzzing. She was like, yes, brilliant. This is just what the brand needs to overshadow a wedding. And I've actually sort of got my fingers crossed that does happen because, yeah, I want the title match to overshadow the big silly soap opera wedding. Yes, that's what we all want. Finally, we had Mei Ying's first ever match in NXT, and something rather strange is happening. Of course, we're going to give it an up because it did what it needed to do, but I think for the first time in NXT, we're going to do another one of these. Yeah, we're bringing back the onions because, again, it's all I've got. But it was a squash, and it was a juicy squash because Mei Ying looked very dominant. She was using a whole different, diverse array of chops and chokes to get the job done. There was a point where the woman she was against, Virginia Ferry, got her in a sleeper hold, and she just, like, reanimated herself like a zombie would do, coming back from the dead to get out of it, and it was a little bit creepy, a little bit terrifying. But she got the job done with, like, a single-handed choke that was a bit underwhelming, I've got to admit. She, like, choked to the floor, but she won the match. That's all that matters. I'm a little bit worried going forward because I'm not sure what WWE are going to do with these sort of gimmicks now in the future, because like long gone are the days of The Undertaker being all creepy and Kane and people like that. Bray Wyatt got fumbled, Karrion Kross has sort of got fumbled. I feel like this will get fumbled if it goes to the main roster as well, but fingers crossed she does well because this onion stinks. LA Knight in a car just going around a city saying that he was going to be the new champion because he's LA Knight, even though he shouldn't be in the match in the first place because he lost against Cameron Grimes. That was the thing. And then we had Tommaso Ciampa sat in a chair being all scary and intimidating, saying that number one, he's going to beat up Pete Dunne. That's the first objective. He's going to kick his ass. And number two, he wants Goldie back. I got shivers. I got chills. You got chills. We all got chills. Please let him get Goldie back. And then just like that, it was time for the main event of the evening. We did have MSK taking on the champions that never lost their belts, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. And this is a clash of styles. Again, we've had a lot of this over this show. It was a wrestling heavy show, NXT this week, and I love it. I adored it. But this match is getting up. 140 days MSK have been champions, but for some strange reason, like the commentary team just keep going on about the fact that they've not got any respect as champions. I respect them an awful lot. Have you seen the people that they've beaten since they've won these belts? I mean, even before they won these belts, like these lads are pretty damn good. And again, they proved they're pretty damn good in this match. Because instead of throwing caution to the wind and just being high-flying lunatics for the most part, which has been a pretty successful tactic, I must say, when it comes to MSK, they decided to match Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan when it comes to physicality. I never thought I'd say those words, but it happened. Well, I say it happened. Every time Nash Carter and Wesley just started to kick and punch and really lay in all their shots on these lads, they got a bit brassed off and isolated them and just pulled them into the corner and started beating them and chopping them. Some of the chops in this match, like I feel like I'm saying this week after week after week, but the sounds were piercing my eardrums. Again, it's not a massive hot take, but Nash Carter's probably one of the best babyface underdog people just when it comes to getting beaten up in a match that we've got. When he does get isolated and brawled and just absolutely crumbled into the floor, I believe it. I feel sorry for him. When he flips out of it and starts getting a comeback on, I love it. Before long, MSK were whacking out the usual tricks though. He had the assisted moonsault, which is just magnificent every single time they do it. Then they started diving to the outside, and it looked like they had the advantage. And then out of nowhere, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch just whacked on two submissions on these dudes in the middle of the ring. Oney Lorcan had an ankle lock on, Danny Burch had a crossface, and it looked like we were going to get some tapping. But no, we did not. They managed to wiggle out of this position, and then Carter just launched Oney Lorcan into the turnbuckle. He then hoisted him up for that flipping neckbreaker thing that MSK do for their finish. And of course, they won the match. And it wasn't that much of a shock, but it was a great match. It's another experienced notch on their belts when it comes to MSK, and hopefully this is all leading to that grizzled young veterans rematch down the line, because I need it. Hook it into my veins. But that wasn't even the biggest takeaway coming out of this match. No, we had more post-match drama. Because looking very pissed off about the fact that his team, his unit, had lost another match, obviously Rich Holland lost a match the week before, Pete Dunne just turned to Rich Holland and nodded at him go on, do it. And he just started beating up everyone. He beat up Danny Burch, Pete Dunne then beat up Oney Lorcan, and then Rich Holland beat up Lorcan, and then he beat up Burch, and there was just a lot of physicality and beating up and breaking up of the Goon Squad. Oh, it's only been a couple of weeks, but the Goon Squad is over. No idea what this means for Pete Dunne now going forward. Is that just him and Holland now? Are they the unit? Are they a duo? Which I think will kind of work. I like that dynamic of Pete Dunne being the kind of guy that can get the job done on his own, but he's got a nice insurance policy there and a big old Yorkshireman. And then Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, so they now just turn into de facto baby faces? This division, this tag team division, is heavily stacked, as we know, but I'm a little bit concerned because I feel like they may get lost in the shuffle. This faction was their only real way of staying relevant, you could say, in NXT. I may be getting way ahead of myself though for now, so let's just drink in the fact that we've had another dramatic finale for NXT, and in general, this is getting a massive up, obviously, because just look down. I do not believe we have it down. What a shock. What a life. Oh, because I've completely forgot, and I'm a bit of an idiot, we've not done a Gargano meter this week, so we're going to bring it up, the Gargano meter. We're going to pop a 77% on it for the lovely moment that Dexter Lumis adjusted Johnny Gargano's axe before he threw it. That was the moment. So those have been your ups and downs for this week's NXT. Let me know what you think of them all in the comment section right down below. If you like them, if you love them, if you hate them, if you detest them, I welcome all comments. Don't forget to follow myself on Twitter at gmorgan04. Follow everyone here at WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE. Don't forget to like this video, share the video, and subscribe to all things WhatCulture Wrestling. What a weekend we just had last week with All Out and all that silly stuff with that Cole idiot. All that, we've had that. We've got more incredible wrestling to come next week and the week after that, because this content train never stops. Neither will I, but I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.